Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Building a Nation, Team Canada with Zebu Nation. And today, we're going to look at the other side of building a nation. So in last episode, we looked at the Team Canada side, we looked at the overall nation, and now we're going to focus in on the club side of things, specifically the club that I will be managing this season, which is the Vancouver Whitecaps. Take a look at the club. It is the year 2019. It is just about to be the beginning of Major League Soccer season for the 2019 season. So we're going to take a look at Vancouver and see what we've done and see what our plans are for this club and how that relates to Team Canada. So you can see here, currently 12th in Major League Soccer. Last season was a decent season, finishing 10th. Making it to the playoffs. So if you are a Vancouver fan, you can have a little bit of hope that maybe your team can turn it around and make the playoffs, because I think Vancouver has a pretty decent team. Now the bad news is that over the course of last season and this last off season, I've almost completely dismantled that team that they have put together in favor of bringing in more young players and more Canadian players. So it's definitely going to be a little bit of a different team than what you might be expecting going into the 2019 season. But I still think we can win some games and finish decently, because I don't want to get fired from Vancouver. I still want to have Vancouver be a successful team and a successful franchise, because we need to make some improvements and we need to use this team as the core, our foundation for building the nation. Let's take a look at Vancouver a little bit more in depth. We got our info up on the screen over here. They are, of course, known as the Whitecaps, founded in 1974. Professional team, of course. We're in Major League Soccer. Technically we're in the USA, according to the FM database, just because that's where the league is based, but we are a Canadian team. Our home city, of course, is Vancouver, British Columbia. We participate in the Canadian Championship as our continental competition. We don't have any derbies, which is interesting, but we do have some fierce rivals. Seattle, Portland, Toronto are fierce rivals to Vancouver. Of course, Toronto and Vancouver are natural rivalries in just about every sport. Seattle and Portland, they've got that Pacific Northwest rivalry. Whenever you go up there, there's always that debate, which is the best city? Where do you want to live? Where do you want to vacation? Is it Portland, Seattle, Vancouver? And, they've got that rivalry it's made its way onto the soccer field as well. And, of course, we also have competitive rivalries with the other Canadian teams out there, Montreal, etc., etc. Now, the good thing about this is our youth. We're trying to build a nation, and the nation, of course, starts with its youth, and we have great youth facilities. That's outstanding, being out there in Vancouver. There's not a lot else out there in terms of other sports other than what's in Vancouver. So, we have to be the focal point and the hub, and the fact that we have great youth facilities is outstanding. We have established youth recruitment. Only good junior coaching, though. So we could make some improvements there in our junior coaching, and hopefully over the course of the next few seasons we'll be able to improve that. We have good training facilities here at the Whitecaps. That's another thing we could improve, because we want our players to get here and still improve and not flatline at just an MLS level. We want them to get higher than an MLS level. We play at our stadium, which is BC Place. It's a pretty decent stadium. Take a look at it. 54,000 seat capacity, so it is large. It is a dome, indoor synthetic type turf, so maybe that's not the greatest. I know a lot of players don't like synthetic turf, and who can blame them when you look at the injuries and stuff that happens, and even just the small things like getting scrapes and carpet burns and stuff like that. Now, the synthetic turf nowadays is much better than the old AstroTurf type stuff they used to play on, but it still doesn't have that natural quality. It still is, it's artificial. What can you do? We are the only team that plays there, so I guess that's good. However, we are still paying rent. Go back to this screen over here. Where'd we go? We're still paying $1 million a year in rent. So that's like a third of our maybe a quarter of our revenue going back to paying rent. So that's not great. So there's some improvements that can be made there. Maybe in a few years we could get our own stadium, our own purpose-built soccer stadium. That would be great. So we'll see about that. Favorite people, we have some icons here. Legends. Martin Nash is our one and only legend. 43 years old, currently assistant coach, contracted to Cavalry FC. Assistant coach, maybe we could bring this guy back in the squad. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Bring back our legend to come. I mean, can always use an assistant coach. He's got good motivating, working with youngsters. I mean, his abilities aren't that great at the moment. Not a great scout, but he could be assistant coach material. We'll give him a few years. At 43, he's got a couple years left in him. We'll see. All right, so that's the club. It's a pretty good club, but we could use with some improvements, and so that'll be part of the challenge and part of the fun over the next few seasons is getting this team to be not just a good MLS team, but a great MLS club, and somebody with top flight facilities and all of that stuff. Now, I mentioned the youth facilities, and one of the great things about Vancouver is, they produce some really good youth prospects. And our current crop is a golden generation. Look at this. We just got these guys in December, so just a couple of months ago. Got a brand new crop of 15-year-olds, and they are top-tier dudes. They're already wanted by international clubs, which is good and bad. So the good news is they're wanted by teams like Frankfurt. Frankfurt is scouting us heavily right now. They're wanting 4 of our top 5 players, top 5 youngsters. So I'm frantically trying to sign these youngsters to contract so that if we do send them overseas, then at least we get some sort of compensation for them. And we're not just letting them go for nothing. But yeah, we got, these guys are going to be, in 4 years, they'll be 19. They'll be ready to play for somebody somewhere. And we need to, if not in our first team, hopefully some of these guys, maybe 1 or 2 of these guys might even make it to our first team for Team Canada by the time they're 19. That would be outstanding. But if not, they should at least be playing somewhere in the world. With this kind of potential and this sort of starting ability, they should be playing somewhere. So we got 2 left defenders, which is interesting. 1 wing back and 1 left back, and then 2 strikers. So we're doubling up on the same position, which isn't great, but at least we got twice the chance that we're going to get somebody good out of there. Now this guy I really like, Zlatkovic. He's got, very good physicals for a 15-year-old. He's got 15 determination, tackling, penalty taking. So he's a kid I think who's going to be very good coming up. And then we got Lemire, striker. Again, 15 years old. He can play a little bit on the left-hand side. He's not quite the beast physically, but he's still pretty good. 13 strength, 12 acceleration. He does have 17 flair, so he's a goal scorer, a playmaker. 15 finishing and 12 composure already at the age of 15. This guy is a goal scorer, and you can never have enough goal scorers. Diego Hendricks, another striker. A little bit more of a balanced player, decent strength, pace, acceleration, agility. A little bit of flair, a little bit off the ball. Again, 15 finishing, a little bit more of a poacher type guy. Maybe an advanced forward, something like that. But still, he's a goal scorer, and, we need that. And then Mario Ahmed. Not quite what I like physically, only 5'7", only 7 jumping reach, but he does have, 17 determination. He does have a little bit of technical, a little bit of mental. He's got 14 work rate. So he's a kid who can get better. He can always get a little bigger and a little stronger. Having 10 strength at 15 years old isn't bad. It's just that jumping reach and the size I'm a little concerned about. But, if he's talented enough, then he's going to play. Then we got a couple of other guys who are pretty decent. Darren Sr., another striker, another guy who's wanted to play in Germany. This guy's a little bit of a different striker, not quite the goal scorer the other guys are, but a little bit more well-rounded. Decent physicals, decent mental attributes, pretty good technicals. His technique's a little low, but he does have high dribbling, so maybe he could even play attacking midfield, something like that. His passing is 7, which isn't great, but, for a 15-year-old striker, it's pretty good. And then we got a midfielder who's probably going to be pretty important, considering all of our other players are strikers and left backs. We needed somebody who can play another position, and here's Haywood. 14 pace is very good for a midfielder. 17 teamwork already as a 16-year-old. 13 passing. So here's a guy who could be a playmaker for us in the middle of the field, and that's good. And then we got a ton of other players who have sort of MLS quality potential. So it's a huge, huge recruiting class here. And, maybe it's the only one we're going to get. Maybe it is the golden generation that we're going to get. But it's good enough, and it comes at the right time. Because in 4 years, they'll be ready to make their way into some kind of starting lineup. And then 4 years after that, they should be the key players in somebody's starting lineup. And they should be on the Team Canada team when it comes to that 2026 World Cup. These are the guys we're going to be looking at. We're going to be having a lot of strikers and a lot of left backs, but we'll at least have those two positions covered by the time the 2026 World Cup rolls around. Now, we are going to need to fill out this recruiting class with players from other franchises and, international players that we're going to bring in and hopefully get their Canadian citizenship in 4 to 8 years. And it looks like we're going to need central defense and right side, right wingers, right backs, right midfielders, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's a good beginning. Some very talented young players, and that's pretty good. We can look at our finances to see where we're at. Vancouver's traditionally a very frugal club, and we're looking like that again. We got $24 million in the bank, which is plenty of money. Got a $34 million payroll, which is way more than enough. Way more than we'll ever need. We're currently only spending $5 million. So if there is any Canadian player out there that does stall in their career, we got a chance to be able to bring them in and, play them get them at least Major League Soccer level, and that would be pretty good. We also have the payroll and the budget to be able to go out and help some of our other Major League Soccer teams out there. If they're struggling financially in any way, we can make some deals that are, financially beneficial to them. Board, we're looking secure after last season making the playoffs, so that's fine. What are we at here? We're at 59%. That's fine. Our owner feels like he'll never leave the club. We've got $1.7 million transfer budget. That's not a lot, but we've got a ton of payroll budget that we could use if we see anybody out there that we need. We looked at the club. Do we need to go through the transfers? I don't know. Go over quickly. Brought in 3 guys from our academy last year. We made a couple of trades for a few players here and there. We did some draft picks. We had a lot of draft picks in the Super Draft last year. We brought in several Canadian players with Canadian heritage who they weren't very good, honestly. I mean, this guy might be the best one, Alessandro Irving at 22 years old, but even he is not very good. 1-star ability. So we're going to continue to draft Canadian players as we find them in the Super Draft. It's just, for the most part, they're not very good. So it's going to be very, 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 very hit or miss whether any of these Canadian players actually play for us. We did go out and get a couple of young Brazilians. Carlos Suesta, 19 years old. Actually, he's Colombian. Sorry, forgive me. 3-star ability, 4-star potential ability. He's got some under 20 caps for Colombia, but he is not yet declared for the Colombia national team, so we got a chance to maybe bring him in a couple of years. And same with Yison Tolosa, 20-year-old Colombian. He has no caps whatsoever. I think we've got a very, very strong chance of bringing this guy in to Team Canada. You know, he's pretty decent. Got a lot of fitness, some vision, some technical abilities. Not the greatest player in the world, but he can play central attacking mid, which is a place we need a little bit of depth. And if we can bring him in, great. If not, you know, he's not a huge loss. But it's just guys like that, we're going to be looking around to try and find some of these guys and see what we can do. Now, we did move a lot of players out. We lost Philippe in the draft to Cincinnati, 28-year-old Brazilian. We sent Hwang In Biam. I don't know how you pronounce his name. He was an interesting 22-year-old, but he is already declared for South Korea. He's already got 13 caps for South Korea, so he's of no use to us here in this challenge. So we sent him out for $1.8 million. And then the rest is sort of loans and just guys we've been trying to get rid of. So not a ton of interesting stuff happening there. We're just trying to clear out and make room for our young Canadians, because here is our squad currently. Take a look. So we have Crepeau in goal. He was on the team. I didn't go out and get him or anything like that. He's basically the reserve keeper right now for Team Canada. So we're going to continue to play him. We've got one of our draft picks here, Jake Nerwinski, 24 years old, pretty decent fullback. He's an American. I don't think he will play for Team Canada, but he doesn't have any caps. We could use a right fullback, so maybe there's a chance that he could join Team Canada, but I highly doubt it. We've got Daniil Henry, who's a Team Canada player. Jesser Kemry, 21-year-old Tunisian international. He's another youngster. No caps for Tunisia. 6'4", 15 jumping reach. Fitness, decent player. Another guy. He's got Team Canada potential. Brazilian at fullback, PC, 24 years old. No caps for Canada. We don't necessarily need a left midfielder or left back or any of that stuff. He's not really the kind of guy I'd be looking for. But right now he's the best we have at left back. John Iris, Spaniard, 32 years old. We just couldn't get rid of this guy, basically. I mean, he's a good player, but 32 years old. He's Spanish. We don't really have a use for him, but he's kind of our best player. Russell Tebert, a mid-level Canadian player. He could get spot duty with Team Canada. Probably not, though, considering all of the midfielders that we have for Team Canada. He's a decent player, but just maybe not good enough to make the grade. He could do in a pinch. There's no problem, especially like in a Gold Cup situation, something like that. We could bring him in, but he's not really a guy we're looking to build the team around. Venuto, 24-year-old Brazilian. Again, no caps for this guy. A lot of speed. He's been on the team for a couple of years, so we could potentially steal him away from Brazil as well. He's not a great player. He's not somebody we're particularly targeting, but he's a guy who is available if we need him. He's got that speed that I like. He's only 5'5", but what are you going to do? Toulouse, a guy we looked at earlier, Theo Blair. Very interesting prospect. 19 years old, came up from our academy. He is a big, strong target man. Definitely the kind of guy we're looking for. 16 strength, 18 jumping reach, 6'5", 218 pounds. He's a beast. but he needs experience. He needs to play. So we're going to be getting him in the lineup at 19 years old. He's going to be playing, and hopefully he's going to be improving. And maybe in a couple of years he'll be good enough for Team Canada. And then Joaquin Ardiaz, 20-year-old Uruguayan. He's not quite declared yet for Uruguay. I mean, he is declared. He just hasn't played any games for Uruguay. So there's this slimmest of slim hopes that he could possibly switch allegiances. I doubt it. But he's a very good player. 20-year-old striker. Right now he's on the team for Vancouver purposes. Like, Vancouver needs to win games, and this guy will help us win games, whether he can play for Team Canada or not. So he's on the team. He's a starter. And that's what we're looking at for Vancouver. So let's see how we can play. Let's take a look at this team and get to today's matchup, which is still a few days away. So I'm going to pause it here, get to our first match, and we can actually see a game and see these guys in action. Pause. Okay, we're back with today's game. We're going to be playing Columbus in Columbus at Mott-Free Stadium. 11,451 tickets sold out of 19,000, so a little over half. Not quite a sellout at all. Columbus is 6-4 favorites. Obviously, we don't have any previous meetings. Actually, we have one previous meeting from last year. Columbus won that game. Not a lot else going on, so let's just get to the teams. You already saw our team selection. Going with the formation number 2 here so we can get 2 strikers in the game. We're going to be experimenting, going back and forth with different formations, but we're going to start here with this and submit the team. Selected, we still got our preseason lineup in there, I think. Yeah, a little bit we have our preseason lineup in there. I think for the most part, though, we're good. Yeah, we're fine. We're fine. We'll just submit that, and that's fine. All right, Columbus versus Vancouver. Like I said, I've never managed Vancouver before, so we'll see how this goes. They're going with the basic 4-2-3-1. They do have Stefan in goal, a guy we'll see a lot of at the international level. Valenzuela, Torres, Mensah, Aful. Mulholland. Luke Mulholland making his debut. Will Trapp is in there. Higuain, Santos, Zardes, and then Joseph Efford making his debut. Who is this guy? Attacking midfielder, 22 years old. He come from the Super Draft or something? No, he came from Greece, over from 245,000. So one of their signees this year. That's interesting. A young Greek player. Meanwhile, we have the lineup that you saw before. Crapeau in goal. PC, Kemry, Henry, Nerwinski, Eris, Tibert, Tolusa, Vinotu, Ardiaz, and Blair. Got to keep an eye on Blair. Tolosa making his debut, as is Crapeau, apparently. Didn't realize that. But anyway, let's get to the dressing room. Yep. Tunnel talk. Let's go. There's a significant talking point following the absence of Jordi Reyna. Yeah, so Jordi Reyna is basically our best player. Kind of trying to get rid of him a little bit. Just because we need to make room for younger Canadianer players. And, we're going to send our assistant to talk about that. But in terms of Vancouver winning games, we should probably keep him around and play him just because he is, like I said, our best player. He's a team leader. He's all that stuff. And I probably shouldn't destroy the team chemistry right away. But here's our new skin in action. We'll see how this does. See how this works with the highlights and stuff. The formations look a little funky. Our number 2 is a little squished here. And, you can't see the whole lineup, but I guess that's okay. Here's Columbus with a throw-in. Intercepted by PC. Sends it forward. None of our players are there. Will Trapp out wide. Valenzuela looking to make a cross. The defense is there, though. Venuto has it. Going to start our attack going the other way. Hopefully, our goalkeeper's like way out. That was some terrible play on the back line there. Higuain has it, gets it forward to Zardes. Eek. Yeah. That was some pretty terrible play. You know, hopefully Zardes is offside, because we're going to get a review here. He didn't look offside to me, but perhaps. Hope against hope. Let's see. VAR. Goal has been awarded. So he was not offside. Let's see the review. Yeah. Okay. Don't need to see it a third time. So we got some issues. You know, it's early in the season. We don't have quite that teamwork worked out. Our team, you know, we got some problems. Communication breakdown, as they say. You know, our ratings don't look terrible. Kemry, not so good. Venuto, yeah, he had that breakup. Here is Columbus on the attack again. Good tackle by Aris. Let's go. Let's get one forward. We're going to bomb it forward. Got a big hole in the middle of our formation. PC, that was a terrible header. Yeah. Defensively, we're looking to struggle here early in the season. I mean, all it takes is one bomb down the wing and then another cross, and PC, I mean, he should have headed that almost anywhere else other than where he did. Just head it out of bounds, buddy, or I don't know. Anything but straight to the attacking player would be nice. Here we go. 28 minutes down 2-0. See if we can get something going forward. Venuto's got some space to Blair, who loses it. You know, the big target man, he is a huge player. He's just a little young and inexperienced. He can't quite fill that void. Like with this number 2 formation, there's a huge void up top. Zardes with a goal. And it needs to be filled by the target man. But when you got an inexperienced player there who's not used to dominating the space, it can be a bit of an issue. It leaves it up to your box-to-box midfielder to do that and fill that sort of attacking void. But our box-to-box midfielder, T-Bert, might not be up to that challenge. Yeah. So it's probably the wrong personnel for this formation. We don't quite have what we need. But, you know, also we should probably switch Blair and Ardiaz around. So that we have the target man. So we have the target man on a different side of the field than the box-to-box midfielder. So now you see T-Bert's going to get forward underneath Ardiaz, and Blair is going to drop down into this empty space here, while Iris comes forward from the segundo and closes up that big gap. That's the big gap I'm talking about in our formation. All right, dressing room down 3-0 at half. Show me something else. Yeah. Okay, terrible. Terrible. You know, made a lot of changes in the offseason. Got rid of a lot of decent players. And still trying to figure it out a little bit this season. We'll see. Higuain, take a free kick. Crepeau, eek. So Crapeau is not making a name for himself here. You know, he's prime candidate to get replaced in that Team Canada lineup. Thankfully, he's not our starting keeper. But he currently is the starting keeper for Vancouver, so we need to figure that out. I think we do have a better option. I mean, we have a definite better option on the bench. Zach McMath is a much better player. But he is an American. He does, he is declared for USA. I don't think he has any actual starts, though. He only has under 20 caps. So, there's a outside chance we could use him. Maybe we could get him to defect to Canada. Who knows? Basically, that's how we're going to look at it. We're going to look at every player, every position that we bring in and say, hey, do you want to play for Team Canada? And see how many people say yes. But yeah, with this kind of performance, I don't know if we want any of these guys on Team Canada. 74 minutes. Let's see if we can get a goal back here, boys. Let's save something. There we go. Ardiaz, can he get burst forward? No, no burst. No burst happening at all. Venuto, he wins the header, but there's nobody to head it to. Zardes beats the defense, beats Crapeau. Yeah. Not looking good. So, you can see where we're starting from. We're going to build from here, hopefully. This is just like the worst game I think I've ever put to film. One MLS club against another MLS club. This is awful. I can't remember the last time I lost 5-0. There's still, 10 minutes left to go, so it could get worse. Hopefully it gets better, though. Iris to Tolosa. Starting an attack here. He's got the big man with him. He chips it forward. Ardiaz. Not a great shot, but he does force Stefan to make a save. Is that our first shot on target? I don't know. But it could be. As PC sends one in. Mensah heads it out. Mulholland has it for Columbus. Tries to send one through. But it looks like Columbus has called off the dogs somewhat. I mean, we probably should have made some subs like 10 minutes ago. But who can we bring in? We need to bring in somebody at the midfield. I guess we'll bring in Suesta for Iris. Just because he's playing so bad. PC also playing horrifically at left back. We'll sub him out. And then look at Theo Blair, the youngster, just playing awful. Bring in Adonijah Reed. Confirm that. So it might be a little bit too soon to be getting the youngster in there. We should probably send him out on loan, perhaps at slightly lower level, or we just need to grind through it. Let him play out there and get used to this level, but we need to do better than this. 5-0. Ouch. That's horrific. Dressing room. Pep talk. Let's be aggressive. Far from pleased. Get out. Get out. That was embarrassing. Completely and utterly embarrassing. Now, the good news is we do have the waiver draft coming up. We just cut a bunch of players from our roster. We're also trying to sign a lot of those youngsters from our academy, bring them up. I mean, they're not necessarily going to play, but we do want them on the roster just for training and financial reasons. So yeah, that will be the end of this episode. So until next time, hopefully we can bring you a better game. We'll probably come back, much farther in the future and see how we've progressed. Maybe we'll even get to some international games if that's a possibility. Take a look at the Team Canada schedule currently. We got a friendly coming up later in the month. So maybe we can go see these two games, Belize and Jamaica, and then give you an update on how Vancouver's going. So until then, we'll see you later.